Okay, I'm just sharing my slides. Thank you, Mr. Said, for the very nice introduction. It's very nice to see you all. Thank you, Dr. Eleftherio, for the excellent presentation. You have set the bar very high for the next speaker. I would like also to thank TIFF for inviting me to participate in this very important building capacity series of webinars. So I was asked to talk about why and how to implement successful activities and to focus on the example of the workshop. Actually, if you Google organizing a successful workshop, you will end up with more than 2,700 articles. So in my very short presentation, I would like to focus on practical steps on how to have a successful workshop. I'm trying to have my presentation I'm unable to.
Can you see your slide on your desktop?
I can see it. You can see it?
Yes, we see it.
Yeah, we see it.
Just change slide.
Yeah, but I'm okay. Okay, I'm fine. It went very far. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay, we are back. Okay, so just to start with the first issue, which is why we need to implement successful activities as associations. Of course, the most important thing is that activities should be a response to an unmet need. So whenever we have a need, we will develop the activity accordingly. For example, if we have a shortage in blood supply, we will do a blood donation campaign. If we have a certain lack in education, for example, if we want patients to know more about clinical trials, then we will go into doing a workshop on clinical trials. So always activities, in order to be successful, they have to be to respond to a specific need for the patient or the patient association. Again, activities are really an indicator for how active is this association. So it's the reason for the existence of this association. And again, successful activities gives visibility for the association in the community. It makes this association more and more known whenever we do more frequent activities. And activities also can be a source of generation for funds if we can sponsor those activities directly and even indirectly, since the association would be more visible by doing more activities, then this would generate more funds, would invite more donors to support associations. So just to give you examples of activities that thalassemia associations usually do, we do blood donation campaigns, we do training activities, workshop activities for patients, for example, on adherence to treatment, awareness and screening for prevention, fundraising. The list is can be very, very big. I just wanted to share some of the pictures of one of our blood donation campaign that was done in Lebanon on the seaside walk. So activities to be successful needs really to go into 3 phases, into planning, into preparation, very good planning, very good preparation, and then the implementation. And of course, we need to have a feedback on our activity in order to have further improvement whenever we need to repeat the same activity. So I'm not going to talk a lot about activities in general. I will focus on workshop organization, and I will start by the planning phase, which is usually when we start to do a workshop, we ask ourselves 5 questions, 5 W and, as we say, 1 H. First, we say why we want to do this workshop. There should be a goal, there should be a reason, an unmet need to be able to do the workshop. For example, if we have a problem in the education of nurses in school in supporting thalassemia patients, let's say with pump therapy, or we have a certain lack of information in a certain area, then we will do a workshop that would address this need. And who are the people who will attend? Who is the target audience of our workshop? Are they nurses? Are they patients? And who is going to host the event? Who are the speakers? So who are the people involved in this workshop? The third question would be where? Where is the location? For example, if we are targeting people in remote areas, if we are looking for patients in remote areas, we have to try to go in that area, making the workshop more accessible for the target audience. In case, for example, it's cheaper, it's more, is better to do it on site inside the facility of the organization, then we will have to think of transportation. So all these are really interrelated. And again, we need to think about the when, the date of the workshop, because the date is very important. We cannot do workshop during holidays, Easter, or during, for example, the fasting time of Ramadan. This will make the attendees attend less. The time is important. In case we are looking for school nurses, then we cannot do that during school time. So choosing the proper date and time is very important. Again, what do we want to do in this workshop? What type of workshop do we want it to be? Hands-on, participatory? What is the content that we want to do? And again, how do we want to do this workshop? Do we want to do it in with physical presence, or do we want to do a virtual workshop? To add the 5W and 1H, this is because of my background, I would add a C, which is the cost consideration. Whenever we are planning, it's very important to think about the cost. When we are thinking of the location, we have to think of the cost. If we are choosing a hotel rather than the local facility of the association, if we are thinking of the number of participants, we have to think of the cost. So just to give you a practical overview of the steps, usually we start by doing a preliminary program. We start by deciding what are the subjects that we would like to cover, who are the potential speakers that we would like to invite, who is a possible or a good moderator for our workshop, what is the time of each session, and always is good to add a human element, which is, for example, a testimony from a patient talking about his unmet need and how this workshop will help rectify this issue. The breaks, how many lunch, what is the time of the discussion. And then when we have this preliminary program, we start by calling the speakers, especially if we have an international speaker. We ask him if the subject is convenient for him, if the date and time is okay. And then we move on, as Dr. Eleftherio said, it's very important to partner and to have collaborators. For example, if our target audience are nurses, then it would be good to collaborate with the order of nurses. If the audience are doctors, then we can contact, for example, the Hematology Society and partner with them, or any other organization. If we are doing something on the international level, then TIF would be the organization to call. So after we have done the program, we spoke with the speaker, we decided who are our collaborators, we can also have like a tentative budget And with the program and the budget, we will approach the sponsors in order to make sure that our activity has enough resources. For the sponsors, you can contact the banks, you can contact other companies that you might have a relation with, you can contact pharmaceutical companies. And here a small note that pharmaceutical companies usually they need to sponsor the program without intervening in the program. So they should only sponsor the activity without interfering in whatever the association is doing. Again, if our target are professionals, health professionals, it would be good to have continuing education credits, CNE for the nurses, CME for the doctors. This will make our workshop more credible, and it will attract more and more the attendees. So whenever we have all of this ready, we will have a final program with the appropriate logos of our collaborators ready for the invitation. I put the issue of participant into the steps because I feel that making sure that we have enough participants is key to the success of our workshop. We don't want to end up with an excellent program, very nice workshop, and having only 2 to 3 people in the room. This workshop will not be successful, whatever we have done as planning and preparation. So also we have to think of a way to guarantee that we have a certain number of participants attending the workshop. Usually if it is in presence, physical presence, then we have to expect around 10 to 20% of no-show at the day of the workshop. Sometimes if it is a virtual webinar, it can go up to 50% of people not attending the workshop. So we have to bear this in mind if we want to have a successful workshop. I don't know this arrow from where it came, but it's okay. So now we are ready for the invitation. We can have a save a date sent to the people who are interested just to mark the date, or later we can send a preliminary invitation or the final program. As you can see on the screen, you would see, for example, that the Thalassemia International Federation is organizing this symposium. You can see the date, you can see the format, that it is virtual, you can see who is the target group, who are the attendees, what is the language of the workshop or the conference, the registration link, or if there are any fees, and if there are any transportation facilities. So the invitation is very important. You can see down the logos of the sponsors and their collaborators, and the way also we display the logos has to be very well studied. So at the end, after finishing with the planning, with the invitation, we have to go into the preparation phase, which is to have all the details done. This is a quick checklist of the things that practically should be done. Of course, I didn't cover everything. I know it could be very trivial to many of you, but for people who did not try to do workshops before, it might be helpful. So you have to prepare the tags for the names, for the attendees, for the speakers. Think about the registration desk. Prepare a booklet for the participants, which means you have to have in that booklet the agenda of the workshop, the biography of your speakers, some abstract or a summary of the slides that are going to be displayed during the workshop. Of course, you need to think of the disposition of the tables in the room. If we are doing a workshop, then you have to have like a U-shape table disposition or round tables to encourage participation. We have to make sure that we have the necessary audiovisual material, a Wi-Fi, and if we want the speakers to have a unified slide background, then we have to have a template sent to the speaker that they can use. We have to think of a banner that we can put at the door where we announce the workshop, or it can be used for group photos. We have to think of the certificate template, the feedback form. If we want to do a pre and post test, again, we have to prepare them. We have to assign a person for every task where every person knows what is his responsibility. We have to think about the foods, the caterer. Even we have to go through the details of the menu to make sure that we have the food variety that is appropriate to our attendees. We have to think of the lodging facilities for the speakers or the participant, as well as all the transportation arrangement. Finally, if you are not comfortable with doing workshop, you can do something called dry run, which is a kind of a trial. You do a trial a few days before the workshop. You make sure that the registration desk is in place, the table in place. You make sure that audiovisual material is running well, that you have your backup in case of a problem. If you have a junior presenter that is not very familiar with presentation, he can even rehearse and make sure that you have all the slides of your speakers. Finally, after you finish planning and all the detailed preparation, the day of the implementation, of course, it is the day. You start with the registration. You have the registration desk. Attendees, they come in, they put on their tags, they take their booklets, and then you start the workshop. The facilitator here has an introductory session where he explains what is the goal of this workshop. What do we expect from the participant after taking this workshop? And what is the agenda, what are the ground rules, how they can ask questions, logistics about the lunch, the break. He assigned someone for timekeeping. What are the material to be distributed, if the speakers will share later their slides, etc. And then, of course, he will acknowledge the partners and the sponsors. After that, there will be a small ice-breaking session, which is where the participant will introduce themselves and know each other. Of course, if there is a pre and post test, it's the time to pass the pre-test, and then you will have the formal workshop where you have the program and all the participatory elements. Here it's very important to have testimony, hands-on, a tour of your association. For example, you can have case studies, you can have voting in polls in physical or virtual. At the end of the workshop, there is also like a small closure session where the facilitator again gives his remarks and remind the participant that after this workshop, what they are expected to do, what this knowledge will enable them to do later. And then if there is a post-test, then it will be circulated at that time. Why we do pre-test and post-test? Sometimes it's important to justify what was the impact of this workshop, what is the improvement in knowledge after taking this workshop. This is an indicator of the quality of the workshop, and it helps later for sponsoring of further activities. Again, we distribute forms for the feedback, and we have also informal session for the feedback. We ask the participant what do they think, what they feel could be better, what could have been done in a better way, and then we distribute the certificate of attendance. And if you want, you can have a group photo where you can use also the banner that you have done before, and this group photo can help you also advertise for your event. You can put it on social media and document for the sponsors about your activity and the number of participants. At the end, there is really no magic. It is really, it is all in the details in the workshop. In any successful activity, you have to cater for all the small, tiny details. I thank you for attending my presentation and ready to answer any of your questions. And I think TIFF is a reference for workshop preparation. If you need anything, you can contact me or contact TIFF. Thank you very much.